I built my first ever proper gaming setup when I was around 11 years old. This setup had no real thought go into it. It was literally a desk attached to my bed with one monitor, an Xbox One, and a keyboard and mouse. This setup worked really well though. Since I was only 11, I didn't use it for anything except for casual gaming on games like FIFA and Fortnite. I did have an Elite controller, which was arguably the most expensive part, and I loved it. Then by early 2021, my setup had changed a lot. I had an Xbox Series S, a better keyboard and mouse, a newer Elite controller since my other one broke, and I also had a 144Hz monitor. This setup was also a huge upgrade because I had an actual desk, so it looked a lot better. I used this setup during the pandemic, so I also had a laptop, which was for Microsoft Teams. I actually miss those days so much now, just sitting in a Teams call playing FIFA in the background. It was so good. I had this setup for around a year and it got some good use. A year might not sound like a lot, but during the pandemic, I spent literally every single day and almost every hour of that day sat on this desk, so it did get boring quite quick. And this was also around the time that I got properly into gaming and caring about how my setup looked. Later in that year, I decided to buy a different desk, and I bought two IKEA Lindemann tabletops and put them next to each other. This was hugely inspired by Vermax, so shout out to him. And in this setup, I had my laptop connected to a second monitor, and I bought a huge mousepad from Glorious. The only picture I have from when I used this desk was after I bought a PC in December 2022. In this setup, I had sold my two monitors and bought an MSI G271, which looking back at it was probably one of the most stupid things I could have done. It was literally the same refresh rate as the one I had before, but just 27 inches instead of 24. It cost way too much as well. With this setup, I made my first proper YouTube channel, not this one. I had a few before, but didn't really take them seriously. But after building this setup, I took it a bit more seriously since obviously I had a PC, which is a lot easier to make videos on. I bought an RK61, a GPRX Superlight, and a much better headset. I did also forget to mention, with this setup, I swapped my bed and the desk around so it was on the other side of my room. This was also a great decision. After a while, I decided I didn't really like the L-shaped desk, so I sawed off a piece of one of the Lindemann tabletops so they fit as one unit, and this transformation is actually on my channel. I also set up my monitor from my first gaming setup when I was 11, and it actually worked pretty good since I had the same dual monitor arm from when I had a dual monitor setup with the L-shaped desk. I did also end up buying a GK61 and a new mousepad. However, I didn't use this setup too much since it was around summer of last year when I built it, and all I did over that summer was play golf. But when summer was over this year, the weather was obviously pretty bad, so I was spending a lot more time at home. So I did end up using my setup a lot more, and I obviously started uploading on YouTube a lot more, so I decided to upgrade my setup again, but this time in a huge way. I bought myself a new desk, a new monitor, new lighting, and also a new Xbox Series S since I sold my old one after getting a PC. And this setup honestly looks so good. I've also bought a new keyboard and had a few microphones sent out over the past few months, which has helped my setup so much as well, and I couldn't be happier with it. If you do want to see a more in-depth video on my setup, I definitely recommend that you click on the video on screen right now. I go over every single thing in my setup, or click on the video to the right of that one if you want to see how I built this setup.